Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Excellent. And I can hear you too. So I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to do this. Can you still hear me? But this, you can hear me just fine, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I am going to bring this guy out of here. And you can hear me.
Yes.
Cool. That's going to work for me.
That's gonna work for you?
That's going to work for me. So, Dr. Shar, let me let you know right now. Shar,
Yep.
I call you Dr. Shar. I call you Pastor Dr. Shar.
Oh God.
And all those titles is what I'm going to need you to help me. I'm going to need all those titles to come through in this season. Okay.
I got you.
I'm trying to let you know right now that I have this bright idea to where I'm going to quit my job and focus on content creation full time. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I figure out if this is what I want to do and this is the way that I want to do it. I honestly have all of the fear. And I know, they tell you about the God has not given the spirit of fear and all that good stuff. But I'm just going to be in my natural right now. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that I want to do something. And I'm 43, if my gray hairs are telling my right age. And I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. Can you help me?
I absolutely can help you out. I just turned 46. And so a few years ago, actually, I was in the same boat as you, in the sense of ready to do what you were called to do, ready to do your life's work, ready to really work out your passion full time. So I get it. I understand it. But one of the things that you have to take a look at is you have to first define your why. Right? You got to first define your why, because understanding your why is going to take you a long way on the journey. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Are we live right now?
Yeah.
So you got to define your why, Javon. Have you defined your why, your motive for doing this?
So if the motive is because I think God has let me, or no, you're not supposed to say things. I know that part too. I've taken a lot of classes on this stuff, right? So you're not supposed to say I think, you're supposed to say I know. I know God is leading me to do something and is not getting in and out of a truck for 12 hours a day. So I believe that he's saying, I've given you all these gifts and talents and it's time to use them for my glory. Okay, cool. That's cool, God. I'll roll with that. I'll track with that. That's for me the why. It's because I'm believing that God is telling me to do it.
Okay. So in other words, you had a God said, and so you stepped out on a God said. So the first thing you got to do is define your why. Your why is, this is what God said. I believe it. And so I'm going for it. I'm stepping out of the boat. Number 2 is you have to discover the cost. And what I mean by that is everything good or bad, everything has a cost. Everything has a consequence or repercussion of something, right? And so we
Right.
got to first sit down, and me and you are people of faith. And the Bible says we got to first sit down and count up the costs, financial costs, your time, your how are you going to maneuver, how are you going to survive, how are you going to live, because we still live in this natural world where we need money. Right? And so you got to count up the cost to say, am I willing to really stay in the fight, to go through what I may need to go through? And there are some costs that you won't be able to count because you don't know what those costs are up ahead. It's kind of go along with the saying where we often say, nobody told me about this part. I knew
Hmm.
about this, right? But nobody
Right.
talks about this part. It makes it look easy, but you didn't tell me I may have to sleep in my car. You didn't tell me, that I may have to, get in the unemployment line for a minute or get like whatever the case may be. You have to count up the cost. I often, let me move to the third thing because it'll connect to that. The third thing is devise a plan. So
Wait, you saying that I'm actually supposed to have a plan before I just go ahead and up and leave my job?
I am, I
Huh.
am, I am, because
Huh.
that's wisdom. That's wisdom. The whole book of Proverbs, right, is we call a book of wisdom. It's not just these wonderful, sayings, they're principles, right? And
All right.
so the ant, we can learn so much from an ant because the ant plans, they do things before time, they store things up,
Mm-hmm.
right, before
All
the
right.
winter comes. So even with dealing with savings and just this idea of learning from an ant, right, we learn the principle of saving our money, not spending everything all at once. And so we have to begin to be wise in our decisions. As many individuals that I look up to, that I admire, that are in our world today on major platforms, we call them celebrities, and we hear these stories, right? Rightfully
Right.
so. And they are millionaires, billionaires. But for me, when I hear, you slept in your car, for 3 years, and I know things happen. I know things happen. So please hear my heart when I say this, but we cannot just jump ship because we're tired of our jobs. We cannot just jump ship because you like, well, I got this passion in me and God told me to do this. One of the things that I had a conversation with many people, but especially one of my mentors, I said, I believe that he told you to do this, but did he tell you when? And a lot of
Mm.
times we don't ask God when. When are we supposed to do it? When do we step out? When do we start building? Right? And so God is probably looking at us and saying, yeah, I said that, but I didn't tell you to move now. There is always timing with God.
Planning.
There's always timing with God. And so we are such in a rush oftentimes because we're frustrated with our boss. We're frustrated with the company. Maybe they're not paying enough money, rightfully so, right? Back in the day before we had this entrepreneurial era, because entrepreneurship is nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing new, right? But we are in this space and in this era of entrepreneurship that everybody is doing it. So it's like, oh, I got a passion too. I want to do that full time too. But you have to wait things out. Back in the day, we would say, hey, before we leave this job, I'm going to make sure I have another one lined up. Why did we do that?
Mm. To
Why
make
did
sure
we
we
do
ate.
that? Listen, to make sure
Right.
we ate. And Lord forbid, if you have children, if you have a wife, and I'm single and I'm still thinking about these things, but for those who are married with kids or single with kids, there's more that you have to take into account than just jumping out the boat and calling it faith. Calling it what this is what God said, because anytime that God has said a thing, listen, he gonna make it good. The
Mm.
Lord maketh rich and he adds no sorrow with it. It doesn't mean you won't have trials. It doesn't mean you won't have tribulations or hardship. It doesn't mean that. You go in already knowing that because you understand the character of your father. you understand the character of God. You've been here before. He brought you out before, and he'll bring you out again. So thank God for grace and mercy, right? When we get out there, when we get out there and it's like, okay, God, I'm out here now. I did this. You didn't tell me at this time. So do I stay out here, or do I pick up a part-time job so that I can still be able to build? And I feel like that, Javon, is still a part of moving in wisdom when I didn't, in fact, count the cost, and maybe I didn't have a plan to step outside my job. I'm gonna say one more example really quick. I have a friend, and we don't talk often. She used to live here in Bloomington. We went to church together, but we talk on Facebook, right? And so she went to go get her doctorate, doing amazing things right now. But one of the things, and she's an author, and one of the things that she said and testifies about is before she left her job to full-time pursue her doctorate, she saved up $20,000. She saved up $20,000. Why did she do that?
So she could support me in case I lose my job and need some place to go stay and get a loan. I need this friend's name and email address. Anyway, no, I'm sorry. As you were saying.
But when I heard that, I don't hear a lot of stories like that. But when I heard it, I said, God, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not all of us gotta sleep in the car. Not all of us have to have the story of I was homeless for 6 years, but now you see my glory. I don't have it in me. We were just talking behind stage that, going full-time entrepreneurship ain't for punks, right? No. Listen, I need a level. I mean, I'm used to stepping outside my comfort zone, but when I know that it's God, because why? I'm excited. It's easier to do. Not that it's easy, but it's easier because I know he said it and he's backing me up. No, I told you to go at this time, Char. Well, God, I mean, it's $10 in the bank. What do you mean? Right? But I'm secure because I know he said it and I know it was the timing. So what does that say? Because of those two things, you got to supply for me. You're obligated to take care of me. It's almost like the umbrella. If it's raining outside, we get an umbrella, right? When we don't have that umbrella, we get rained on. Imagine that umbrella being the covering of God, because you understood it's your season of rain. You understood it's your time to step outside the boat and do what I called you to do. But the moment that I step outside of that umbrella or don't have it, I'm uncovered. So when I step outside of the purpose of God, outside of the will of God, he ain't obligated to cover me. He's not obligated, but he is so gracious and so merciful that when we cry out to him, just like the Israelites, he comes back into the picture, or we come back into the picture and say, Lord, I did that. Can you cover me? Can you help me work this out? And I'm going to stay under the umbrella, under your will, under the word that you've spoken over my life. The last thing, so I said, first you got to define your why before we step outside this boat. Second thing, discover the cost. Third thing, devise a plan, because let's be people of wisdom. And the last thing is decide to be patient.
Oh, patience is tough now. Now you're saying something. So what I said was that I'm just gonna go ahead and do it, and everything is just gonna boom, because God said it. That means it's like a magic trick. Boom.
I wish.
Then all of a sudden it just happens.
I wish. God, I wrote this in my book, Just Be It, shameless plug, a guide to finding your fit and living with bold intent. But my very first book I published, have more to come. But one of the things I talk about in that book is that God doesn't do microwaves. He loves crock pots and he loves ovens. Ain't that the truth? That's why you're laughing.
That's good.
He don't do microwaves
or crock pots.
No, he'll do a crock pot. He'll let you slow cook. right? He'll do
Yeah,
ovens.
yeah.
He'll do ovens. Now the Bible specifically talk about ovens and purifying things, but microwaves, you can hang it up. When it comes to God, nothing is quick like that. But when it's let me preface this though, but when it's your season and when it's your time, all doors are open. And it comes so fast. It's one door after another, one door after another, to the point where you like in Amos, I believe, chapter 9, verse 3, I believe, but it's in the book of Amos where it talks about God is going to be doing so much in your life, it's going to make your head swim. Message verse, it's going to make your head swim. Everywhere you turn, it's like, hey, Char, I want you to come here. Hey, Javon, I need you next week to do this. Can you do it? Do you have time? Right? And so we have to have patience. Patience is a virtue.
That I desire, don't necessarily have.
Yeah, come on. And that's okay. And God loves, one of the things God loves is honesty. Lord, I don't have that. I'm working on that. Right? We can come to our daddy and tell him that. And so he begins to work on us because he wants us to be open. But I long suffered for so long. I mean, it was year after year after year. And in the beginning, you feel defeated. In the beginning, you like, Lord, do you truly love me? Do you have something for me? Everybody else is moving ahead, but I still feel like I'm back here, renting while everybody else is getting houses. I'm back here still single while everybody else is getting married. All of these things, right? But I understood, Char, you have a divine purpose, and God has a set time for you. And so this is why I tell people, you only look to the left or the right to be inspired and to admire others, but not to compete with them. You want to compliment them and say, Javon, you're doing an amazing job, right? But I'm not in competition with you. We on the same team. We may be in different lanes. Javon's show, I'm out here speaking, whatever the case may be. But we're on the same team and we're striving for the same things or types of things. And so we have to decide in our mind, like, I got to be patient with the process because I understand trouble is going to come. It's just a matter of when. It's just a matter of when is it going to knock at your door, right? And so if I'm already decided, I often tell people, you got to decide before you have to decide.
Wow.
It's like being in a relationship and the Lord said, hey, I need you to break up and let that be a forever breakup with that man or with that woman, right? And the enemy is always going to come try you. It's necessary that he does because you got to see what's in you. Do I have patience in me? Do I have love in me for real, for real? Despite that, I know you just talked about me or, you blasted my name or whatever the case may be. The enemy is going to knock at our door. And so if I decide now, I'm not going to open it. If I got to get my accountability partners over to my house, that's what I'm going to do because I got to stay in position. I got to stay in position. So likewise, in this entrepreneurial space, we got to stay in position. We got to stay prepared because we never know when God says time. And now we rushing to get things together. Why? Because we wasn't in position and we wasn't prepared.
Wow. How does a lack of a support system tie into all of this?
Yeah, that's really good. So a lack of support system, just already know family, friends, enemy, people are not going to support you. And a lot of times, a lot of people often say, expect your family and your friends, those that's closest to you. They love you, right? But sometimes those aren't the ones. They're too familiar with you. And so
it's the familiarity that gets you.
It is. It really is. Unless you have really a mature individual that can look past the Javon when he was 5, the Javon when he was in high school or college, and to see the Javon now. I know you knew me then, and I know what I did then, right? And I own that. But now I'm a totally different Javon. Now I'm a totally different Char-Michelle, right? And so God has people assigned to your voice. God has people assigned to your assignment. Those individuals who will help you with your vision. They may not be your family. They may not be your kids. It may not be your homeboy that you've been rocking with. And so you have to understand that you have a power within you that keeps pulling you into this space of the Javon Show, this space of creative content, right? You are the one that heard the voice of the Lord, not them.
Right.
They wasn't in your prayer room. They wasn't in your car when you were talking to the Lord, when you may have been crying out to God. Like they wasn't there. So because they wasn't there, and when you try to project or portray or tell the message of what you heard and they don't receive it, it's because they don't have the capacity to receive it. How you gonna do that? They don't even have an entrepreneurial mindset. So why are you talking to them? Why does it matter? Right? It has to be with like-minded individuals. Not to say the like-minded individuals are going to support you either, because we can feel like you like-minded. You know what this is like, Char. I mean, can I just get support? I need donations of $5, $10, whatever you can give, $100, right? You know this space. And so sometimes you won't have that. So Javon, we have to be, again, decided that not everybody can go with me. Not everybody is going to support me, and it's okay. Because the moment that I don't be okay with it, then I start listening to all of those voices in my ear, and then you stay stuck. And anytime you stay stuck, you end up becoming stale. And anything that is stale, we throw it away. So as a business, as we say in business, you become extinct because you are no longer relevant. Why aren't you relevant? Because you've missed the major voice that should have been in your life because you've been listening to the minor voices. That's a word. That just dropped. We got to listen to the major voice in our life, and the major voice is who? It's God. It's Holy Spirit at the end of the day. But all of these other minor voices that we're listening to, it is depleting us of our power that God has placed on the inside of us to remove us from our assignment. That's the minor's job. That's the enemy's job, to move you out of position when you had a God said. So you got to be decided that, hey, Char may not support me. It don't mean I need to have beef with her. I just got to know that's not where my support lies. Does that make sense?
It makes the most sense. The most sense. But now, I love the fact that I can come to you, Char, with all of my situations, because you have something for me. And you remember, this was brought back to my attention by you, so I want to talk about it. What we were doing, EXP, Expressions of Praise. We had this open mic that we were doing every year, and for my 3rd year anniversary, you came through.
I was forced to come through. I was trying to get out of it.
And I probably like grabbed you and was like, no, that was back in the day when you could manhandle people, and I manhandled you there. So 3rd year of EXP, you were there. This is the 3rd season of Javon Show, and you're here. And it's always when things are about to transition to another level.
Jesus.
Right? So you came through, and then we went on TV. Now we on TV, we're doing all this other stuff. We're about to shift again. So you're here. My issue is that I know that this is going to be successful. I can't explain it to anybody. So if you could help me understand what this is for myself, then maybe we can help others. I know it's going to be successful. Why am I afraid of it being successful? Why do I have a fear of the success that's coming?
Look, you tell me why you got a fear, huh?
I need you to tell me. Because most people will be like, well, you about to get all this, so congratulations, and just go with it. But it's like, that's weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think because it's different. right? You haven't been there before. And so it's the unknown. It's the, well, I want Char with me. Char may or may not be with you, right? It's success brings us into new environments. It places us amongst new people that or new, I'll say new caliber of people that we may not be used to. And so that's uncomfortable. I think sometimes too, that fear of success, it really brings oh my gosh, it really brings a level of anxiety, I think, and this is just my personal thoughts or belief. I haven't read this anywhere or articles, but I just think that person said, what if I fail? What if I get all the way to the top and then I have this big drop? I can't deal with that. I can't, I don't know how I would handle that level. And so what I would say to that is, put some guardrails around you, right? You're not good at certain things. You don't feel like you can manage that amount of financial success and monies. Put the right people in place to help you manage those things. We see people win a lottery, or even just celebrities get all of this money, but because we didn't have discipline, because we didn't know how to take care of those things, or put the right tax people in place to make sure we pay taxes or whatever the case may be, we failed. So I think sometimes the fear of success is also the fear of failure. What if I get all the way up to that top, and the higher I go, the harder that drop is going to be, and can I really come back from that? I think to dismantle that fear is to revisit your why. One of the things I wrote today was, you have to revisit your why because it's the fuel to your future.
Wow.
You have to constantly revisit your why. When you think about success, don't just think about you. When you think about your show, don't just think about you, right? It's for other people. It's to feed content that is, whether it's because see, Javon, you so facet. You're vast and you're very creative, and I've known you for 20 something years.
Right.
And to see you still pushing in this area lets me know this is in him. This is what he loves. This is what he's always dreamed about, right? Because you keep coming back to it. And so we have to keep coming back to, this is why I'm doing this. It was a rough week. It was a rough month. It was a rough 6 months, but this is why I'm doing this. And you have to use your why to be the fuel to continue to get you to your future, to continue to get you to your next level. So success is not just for you. It's not a selfish motive where I'm going to get all of this stuff and it's just me. No, it's gonna be broad. Its purpose is to bless other people, to pour and to enhance and to enrich the lives of other people. If we're not doing it, then what are we doing? Have a seat. Go work at the call center. If we're not doing that, what are we doing? If we're not publicizing the one who gave us the God said, then what are we doing? He's given us the platform to, yes, do these wonderful things, but God is saying, don't leave me out of it. Don't misrepresent who I said you are and what makes Javon unique in this stream, in this lane, where thousands and millions of other people are doing the same thing. But Javon, there's a uniqueness, there's a stamp that's on him when you come to his show or when you experience his show as a listener. So don't be afraid of success. Sometimes too, Javon, a coach or even a consultant or a pastor or somebody like myself may not always have the right answer or the answer as to, why do you fear? Not that I couldn't answer it, but I just wanted to hear the depths of your heart, or I want to hear the depths of a client's heart. And sometimes the homework assignment is you go sit yourself in a corner for a good 30 minutes. And I want you to write the first thing that comes to mind. Why are you afraid? because now that gives us more to dive into to really see what's the root and what is it connected to, right? And
Yeah.
so those are the kinds of things that I even do in my program, that we go through 6 weeks of just discovering purpose and understanding our identity so that we can boldly exist every single day. And so I like assignments, and not that it's a lot of homework assignments, but a lot of times we don't sit with ourselves, Javon. We
Yeah.
sit with people and we listen to who people say we are. And one of the things that I've learned, that if you tell me who I am and I never come to the realization of that, if you so happen to decide to leave my life, guess what? My identity has also left with you, because my identity was wrapped around in what you said concerning me. So because now you walked away from me, oh man, am I really the doctor? Am I really, the amazing woman of God? But if you walk away from me because I can stand in my own and I know who God has said that I am, walk away. Because I know, I still know who I am. So it's the same thing for you. It's the same thing when you don't have the support. You can't allow the whispers to come into your ears and into your mindset to say, well, man, maybe my content sucks. Because I mean, those that really know me, they know what I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even watching my shows. They're not even boosting me or just saying, man, Javon, good job. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we gotta be okay with that, but we have to really understand that success is not just for us, and that you have no reason to fear, especially if you are a person of God. Like, we have no reason to fear, because God said He's with us. He's with us, and so yeah.
And let's let all these folks that's with me have everything they need. It's not just about us. And our success isn't just about us. That's a good word.
Yeah.
So talking about your program, what's the name of it again?
So I wrote a book called Just Be It, A Guide to Finding Your Fit, so that you can live with bold intent. B is an acronym, BEE, that stands for Boldly Exist Every Day. And so the whole premise of the book is, if I'm not walking in my God-given purpose, all I'm doing is breathing. All I'm doing is existing. Right. And so individuals who are, well, I'm bored, they're bored all the time, or they're frustrated, they're not fulfilled or satisfied in life, it's because we have not tapped into our purpose. I'll talk about the program in just a second. I don't want to I don't want to come off as, well, I know my purpose, but I'm still working at Jules. I know my purpose, but I'm still working at Walmart, or whatever the case, in country company, whatever it is, right? There's a time for that.
Right.
Right? Sometimes we don't just jump right into purpose. And for some people, you do. Some people have known that they were X, Y, and Z since they was 5 years old, and their parents have reared them up and set them up in such a way to when they're 20, they're millionaires. All of us don't have that story.
Right.
And it's okay, because we all have our own process. So I don't want any listener or those who may be watching to feel like, well, I know my purpose, but I'm at this dead end job. No, be grateful for your job, because there's millions of homeless people and you can be one of them. And we're just one step away, right? So the whole premise is not just discovering your purpose. There's thousands of books on that. But what do I do once I discover it? What do I do now? And so that's what I wanted to make the difference in this book, to say, hey, great, we've worked out your purpose. Now we understand. Now you have to decide. So my book is broken up into 4 different phases, not necessarily chapters, but 4 phases, where you discover your purpose, you decide to walk in it, and then you develop in it, and then you be it. And without those first 3 things, we can't be it confidently. The thing that you've done, Javon, by stepping out and being a content creator full time, it takes guts to do that. It takes courage to do that. And so you got to know who you are to do that. And so this is why you are being so well at what you do. right? Yeah, you can introspectfully or internally critique yourself on things, but it's not a critique or a negative thing to say you're doing horrible. It's just to improve every single day. So what
Mm.
I do is run a program for 6 weeks. It's a 6-week mentoring program where I take women through a 6-week process, and we dive into discovering who they are. You know, there are 7 mountains of influence, whether it's business, whether it's education, whether it's the religious mountain. But it's we look at those mountains and we say, hey, which one should I be dominating?
Mm.
Right. So because I've done the self work, I understand as Char-Michelle McDowell that I am to dominate the business mountain. I'm to dominate the religious mountain. And here recently, God has revealed the educational realm. That was not my idea. I am a church girl to the bone, love God, was born in and raised in the church. So what I saw for myself is going around preaching, teaching, loving folk, being married, having a family, and living life and working a job. I'm cool with working a job because it is extra responsibility. And so
Yeah.
while I'm not full-time entrepreneurship, the things that I am doing business-wide on the side, I'm like, Lord, listen, this a lot, you know. And one of the things that I've realized is that even though we know it's our passion, we know it's our purpose, it doesn't mean that we'll get tired of doing it.
Mm.
It
Mm.
doesn't mean that you wake up today and you like, yeah, I don't feel like doing that today. And in my
You're
mind,
right.
Javon,
You
I
are right.
thought like, oh, you would want to do this every day because this your jam.
Wake up out the bed, flipping out the bed just to get right on and get to it. It,
Yeah.
ooh, it ain't that. It is not
But
that at all.
to your point, who talks about that?
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna
That's
talk about it. You
oh,
know,
that's a good program.
yeah. So I'm like, sometimes, and the Holy Spirit had to say to me, like, no, sometimes you won't feel like it, Shar. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh,
My
because
passion.
in
I'm not gonna feel like doing my passion.
my passion, that doesn't make logical sense to me.
Mm.
And so now that I understand that, and this is why we have to still sometimes push ourselves because we're still flesh. And granted, we need rest. Without
Yeah.
rest, I can't create nothing,
Mm.
you know, unless I'm forced to, and I got to make it happen in the next hour or something. But for the most part, our bodies need rest. And so that's what our program does. When you come out of our program, you will come out knowing what your purpose is. Again, I don't sit and necessarily tell you, oh, this is who you are, unless I really know and unless I see this. But they have homework. We dive deep. And we ask ourselves some hard questions, and people haven't been challenged to that place before. And so we've graduated 17 ladies now. We'll be starting the next cohort number 4. We'll be starting the next cohort in April 2nd. I believe we meet on Sundays for an hour and a half from about 6 to 7:30 Central Standard Time. There is an investment because you are getting me every week for 6 weeks.
Mm.
And then we have a graduation, a virtual graduation that 7th week where they can invite their family, their friends to see them graduate. And at that graduation, Javon, some of these students get teary-eyed because they now have an understanding of who they are, why they waited so long. They can answer these questions, but they also they reintroduce themselves, and they
Mm.
reintroduce themselves by sharing their purpose and who they are and what they do. And so I teach identity, purpose, assignment, and destiny. It's a framework, an iPad framework that I've created.
Mm.
That is it's amazing. It's fun, but it's work.
And so for people that will want to dive in and jump into this 6-week series with you, how do they get a hold of you? How do they contact you? How do they sign up?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, www.leadwithchar.com. The information is there. If you go to the events tab, that's where the classes, where you can sign up or even just look to see what the classes is. What the class is all about, or the program is all about. You can also click the contact button that's on my page and reach out to me, and we can have dialogue.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what's up.
also on Facebook too. I'm also on Facebook, Char-Michelle McDowell. And then if you follow me on Instagram at C Michelle Consults.
Excellent. Well, this has been the best consulting that I could have asked for. Uh, we're in a new season, the third season. And when I do the third season or the third series or the third anniversary or the third something or something else, you'll be back again. But no, I'm more than sure I'm going to see you again real soon before the third of the next thing.
I would love to be here. Thank you so much for this time and just for inviting me, Javon. And I'm super proud of you, which you already know.
Thank you. You can officiate my third wedding.
Oh,
Yeah.
I cannot deal with you.
Thank you, Dr. Pastor Sharp.
I cannot deal with you.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you as well.
And that is what we're going to use. Let me get that.